Hello, and welcome to episode 32 of Things I've Learned from Barry Harris. Today I want to stay with the theme that we started with yesterday, which is ideas from Charlie Parker. Another reason why I bring this up in the Barry Harris episodes is because Barry was really the one that, besides learning how to transcribe, which you kind of have to do on your own, but figuring out what to do with all of these beautiful phrases that you're transcribing. You know, you can learn a phrase and then you can use that phrase over and over again. So you could take a Charlie Parker lick, figure out, oh, okay, you do this on a 5 chord, so then that's the lick I'm going to play, which is great, but then that's really just taking a Charlie Parker lick, which is fine, but you don't want to really do that. There's enough people that, you know, take all Charlie Parker phrases. That's not really moving the ball forward, so to speak. And it's also not learning from Bird. And the thing that Barry taught us all is how to really learn from these masters, including himself. So what he'll do is he'll take a phrase of Charlie Parker and he'll break it down into things, and then he'll have you do it on the entire scale. For instance, there's this great phrase that Bird plays. I guess it would be on, let's say, if we were playing D7 in the key of G. So he plays, which is really nice. So now you could say to yourself, well, every time I have a dominant chord, I can play that, which is great. So if I play E7, E flat 7, same thing, which is fine. Or you could say, let me take that phrase and dissect it, which is exactly what Barry does. So the first thing you have to decide is, let's take the back end of it first, which is this. Nice. If we're thinking G major, or if we're thinking D7 scale, which is the same scale, you're thinking 5 chromatically to 3. So if you could do 5 chromatically to 3, you have to be able to do that on the whole scale. So you'll have to say, let's do the next one. So that would be 5 to 3. The next one would be, and I'm thinking just G major, so 5th of G major to 3 of G major. Now the next one I'm thinking is 4 to 2. So that's easy because those are both minor thirds. So I'm just putting all the notes in between too, the one note in between. Now the next one that gets a little bit tricky is the third to the 1, because that's a major third. So there's different ways to tackle this. You could just play the first half step. I like to play both half steps, so I do this. So now we have from the 5th to the 3rd, 4th to the 2nd, 3rd to the 1st. Next one, 2nd to the 7th. Now here I would probably change and do tonic to 6. So now I change strings. 7 to 5. I'd probably change here again maybe and do 6 to 4. Now 5 to 3. I'll keep going. Sorry. So if we did them all, it would be. So if you can do them down, you should also be able to do them up. And those are all beautiful. Now he does something interesting. He puts it, another thing you have to know to break down this thing, we've talked about these before, is doing a chord up. So thirds up are just, if we're thinking G major now, thirds up are just play a note, skip a note, play a note. And we go up the scale like that. Triads are add another note. So you play a note, skip a note, play a note, skip another note, play a note. Those are triads. Then Barry calls this a chord, which is when you do 4 notes. So you start a note, skip a note, play a note, skip a note, play a note. There's your triad. But now you're going to skip another note and play another note. So there's our 4-note chord. There's also a 5-note chord. So you can say play a note, skip a note, play a note. That's your third. Skip another note, play a note. There's your triad. Skip another note, play a note. There's your 4-note chord. And then skip another note, play a note. That's your 5-note chord. So now you do that up the scale. Now, get really comfortable with that. Next thing you can do is say, I'm going to put a half a step before the first note. That's the next step. The next step to this one is he plays so now what I did in that one was I did the half step coming up. Now I'm going to come up the 5-note chord, but I'm going to skip the 4th note of the chord. So here's the 1st note, 2nd note, 3rd note. I'm skipping the 4th note and playing the 5th note. So I'm just going to skip one going up. So it would be this. Next one. Next one. Oh, sorry. Next one. Next one. Sorry. Next one. Next one. And the last one. Now, what Bird does with this phrase, that's really starting from the 4th, coming a half step below. But instead of playing that, he's going to go up to this note, which is that playing a half step below, going up a 5-note chord, but skipping that 4th note. But that's when he's going to introduce that sliding down the 3rd. So there's his phrase. So knowing that, using those two things, you should say to yourself, okay, so now I have to be able to do that from every degree of the scale. So if this is the first one, the one from the 3rd is probably going to sound, that's from the 3rd. From the 2nd, from the tonic, from the 7, so see how that's beautiful? Let's do the one from the 6. That's a pretty one too. I'll do the one from the, so that was 6, so let's do the one from the 5. That's a nice one too. Let's do the one from the 4. Let's see. That's a nice one. Let me find a different way to finger that. Go back to the first one again. Now, again, doing it from every degree, seeing what it sounds like. You could also say, okay, what if he did this instead? That's good. That's this to this. But now suppose he did the chord up with the half step below and did that, which I think he does do in some tunes. He'll say, those are different ways to use that one little thing. So that's a nice one. So wait, let's see. Let's do just that much. So that's, again, going up a chord, and then when you get to the top note of the 4-note chord, you're going to do your the thing that we did in thirds all the way up chromatically. So, and we're going to put a half step below the note. So this would be this one from the 4th. Let's do the next one from the 3rd. Let's do from the 2nd. Let's do from the tonic. Let's do from the 7. Let's do from the 6. Let's do from the 5. From the 5. Let's do from the 4 again. So again, that's taking a Charlie Parker line or phrase, an idea, and instead of just playing it exactly the way he played it, which is perfect, you want to take the concept and say, okay, let me see how I can get inside his mind and see how maybe he was thinking about it. I don't know necessarily if that's how he was thinking about it, but it sure seems to me that that's what he's doing on the scale. And this is the thing that Barry shows you. He'll take everybody's transcription or things that people have learned from Bud Powell or from Charlie Parker or from Dizzy or from Monk, and he'll say, or from Coleman Hawkins, for instance, and he'll say, look at this beautiful thing he did on the scale. And then he'll say, let's try to do that up or down the whole scale. And that is the way we're supposed to look at music. We're not supposed to just take, obviously, bird phrases and then just copy them and put them in the same places all the time. That's not anything. That doesn't mean anything. What we have to do is take from these great masters and dissect it and build it back up and realize what they're doing and then use it for yourself. Figure out ways to use it yourself. To me, this is the only way of progressing. And to me, that's true progression. That is truly progress, if we're able to do that. Because the music is all laid out for us already. That's what Barry says all the time. It's already laid out for us. It's already there. It's who can come up with the most pretty ways to do those type of things. Or even interesting. And it doesn't always have to be pretty. I mean, it doesn't hurt, but it doesn't always have to be pretty. But that's an example of a Charlie Parker phrase that you can really work on your instrument. And the interesting thing on guitar is, if you noticed, I'm using about this much of the fretboard. So I don't know, I guess that would be 1, 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 positions. Just, I don't know how people refer to it as positions, but this much, from basically the 2nd fret to the 10th fret. So that's why, just knowing your major scale, you have to, we have the boxes that we play in as guitar players. We have to know all this, all these from here to here. And do you see, if I want to do this, I have to jump up. And then depending on where I am, I have to, see, it depends on where you are. Anyway, I hope that lesson was helpful. And I'm going to make another couple of videos about Charlie Parker phrases and dissecting them. And I hope you're enjoying these. Okay, until next time. Thanks.